What's going on YouTube? This is Jetfire back again for you guys in another video, and today I am super excited to finally be ranking my preseason predictions for the upcoming CDL 2024 season. At the time of recording, it's December 3rd. The first day is December 8th, I believe, that Friday. I'm so excited to finally start watching Call of Duty again. And with that comes our tier list of how I believe the season's gonna go. Right, so we have our 12 teams. We have the changes. Obviously, the London Royal Ravens became the Carolina Royal Ravens. That is such a mouthful to try and say. Try and say that 10 times fast, I dare you. Obviously, the Las Vegas Legion, and then we have Miami Heretics. So, I've been trying my hardest to keep up with the teams and to see who's doing well. And I don't want to say that it's going to be exactly like last year, because I don't think it is. But I think a majority of the teams are going to be up there, right? So starting off very simply, Atlanta FaZe. I think Atlanta has always been one of those top two teams. It's the team that you expect to be in grand finals every Sunday. With the signing of Draza, I mean, it's just become such a stellar team, and you can't wait to watch and see how this team plays out. Obviously, you have Abizi, Celium, Simp, and Draza now. So, is Draza better than Slasher? Probably, just because he's younger and he just has better movement than Slasher, right? But this game for MW3 has been more AR heavy. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Slasher plays. And moving on to Slasher is Boston Breach. Now, Boston's going to be a struggling team, okay? I liked the beginning two teammates of Slasher and Priesta. I thought those were a good, solid core. But then you surrounded him with Snoopy, which, don't get me wrong, I understand he's still a newbie. I understand that he's still new, and he was super cracked out and very, quick-paced in MW2. And he's backed by Doug Sensor Martin. More than anything else, he's backed by Doug Sensor Martin for being on his Challengers team. I don't know. I feel like there are other, especially so early on that they signed out everyone, that you could have chosen different subs to kind of build around that team, right? So it's Priesta, Slasher, Snoopy, and Capsidal. I like Snoopy and I like Capsidal. I just don't think, I know they're going for this young gun talent kind of thing, right? And if it wasn't for the fact that they burned so many bridges when it came to Nero or Vivid, two really good submachine gun players, whatever. So Boston, I think, is going to be a middle of the pack team. I could see them being better than a fair amount. Yeah, for now, let's put them middle of the pack. B. Let's put them middle of the pack. Okay, moving on to Miami Heretics. This is the team that I consider to be one of the biggest question marks going into the league, even though a lot of people will probably say it's LAG, your Seattle Surges, your Carolina Royal Ravens, and we'll get to those. But Miami Heretics signed 5 players at the beginning. They had Vickle, obviously, from when they were Florida Mutineers, and then picked up a whole team, Eric Boom, Metals, Lucky, and Journey. And I heard that they even already swapped rosters and took Eric Boom off of their starting roster. So I get why they got everyone together to kind of see who's the best at this game. And I like the representation. I'm glad that we have better representation for these different organizations with Heretics. But man, I think they're gonna have a hard time. I hope they prove me wrong, but I'm gonna put them at C. I think they're gonna be on the bottom third of this tier list and for the year. And speaking of Los Angeles Guerrillas, the one team that a lot of people looked at and were like, "What's going on, man? What's going on?" And to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about this team. I think it has a lot of passion to it, and it does have a newcomer. The team consists of Assault, who good player, he's a championship winner. I take that with a grain of salt, just because I feel like I was a little bit lucky, but he surrounds himself with Diamond Khan, who has, proved himself from New York Subliners and proved himself last year again. You have Fame, who, minus that one clip with Afro, he's pretty solid, right? And then finally they rounded off with a newcomer, Estriel. Now Estriel and Fame I've seen for years playing challengers together, and it's surprising to see Estriel got picked up, but Fame didn't. Not Fame, Flames. I was right. It was Flames. Estriel, Bink, Flames, and Fame. They played in MW3. They've been playing with Flames a lot. So I did see. I was right. I'm not going crazy, I swear. So Estriel used to play with Flames a lot, and those two players I would always see be just like a top tier, top 8 minimum challengers team. But they never got that chance. I felt like they were always holding their hand and sticking together. I get it, they're sort of a duo. So it's cool to see him get a chance, even if it's on LA Gorillas, right? And I hope that he proves himself, because this is going to be a really uphill battle for him. And I would put them in that Miami Heretics LA Gorillas pack, right? In that C where they're gonna be pretty good and move themselves to the middle of the pack, but I don't see them winning against any of the top tier teams. Moving on to Las Vegas Legion, the team that I wasn't sure how was going to. It's one of two teams that I wish was built a little bit differently, and it's going to be really interesting seeing how this team plays out. It consists of love Attach, Nero, we just talked about him, Standy, who was a top tier sub. Honestly, I thought he was a great player last year, and I don't think he deserved to be dropped from Toronto Ultra. I wholeheartedly believe that Toronto Ultra could have made their stride without changing him for Hixie and winning that major. But it didn't happen, so I can only say that with a grain of salt. But then they round it with another newcomer named Purge. Know nothing about Purge. But the team hasn't been performing. They have not been doing fantastic. And it's unfortunate because I always feel like Attach is such a good player, but he surrounds himself with such weird combinations of players, and people just can't always play together. I wholeheartedly thought it was going to be an Attach, Clayster, Standy trio, and that's not what happened. I don't know why that happened behind back doors. I really was hoping for that reunion, but we didn't get it. And that's why Royal Ravens versus Legion is always going to be a great set of matches to watch. At least for me, I can't wait. So I would probably put Vegas Legion above Heretics, and I would put them above Gorillas. Even though they have a lot of work to do, I would still put them in that middle of the pack category. Then you go to NYSL. I'm going to put them immediately at an A. Why don't you put them in S? They were the COD champs. They made a roster change. Right after that, they thought that Priesta just wasn't good enough, and they moved him away, and they picked up Sib. And I like Sib. I think Sib's a great player, and I think the team itself has proven, it's definitely for sure proven me over this last year, right? I mean, they won 3 times, they won 2 majors, and then they won champs. Skies, Hydra, Kismet, Sib. I think that it's a good core between the 3 of them. I understand the upgrade, but unless Hydra and Kismet really go off, I mean, I don't want to say that Skies isn't good, because I always thought of Skies as like that good Dark Horse AR that a lot of people just didn't like, and he was always on the Florida Mutineers, and he finally got a chance on NYSL. So it's cool to see him finally surrounding himself with other great players and giving him that chance to be good. I mean, hell, the guy's a world champ now, right? I don't see them on a regular basis beating FaZe. I don't see it. I think they're a very mojo type of team, and if they don't have their stride, things are just not gonna. The wheels are turning, but no one's there, and I hope for the best. I mean, I want them to do well, and I'm kind of pissed that there isn't a New York event. Bring back New York events, even though CDL's probably gone after this, don't get me wrong. But I gotta keep them at an A. Next is the Carolina Royal Ravens. Team that I am oh so confused about. And no, I don't understand why this happened to Clayster. And I even made a video about it 2 years ago after he got dropped from Empire. That this man just surrounds himself with these just odd made teams, and just he plays his heart out, and I'm just mad at it, seeing it. And don't get me wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I always hope I'm wrong when it comes to these kind of teams, because I want them to do well. I want Clayster to do well. But he surrounds himself with Clayster, GodRx, who I personally wasn't a big fan of, but apparently he's been doing really well in Challengers, so he's earned his spot to try again and show what he's made of. Great. You have Gwyn, who apparently is one of the top 2, right? And then you have Rial. And I don't know where Rial comes from. You know, I think that he was a pretty good player. I think him and Gwyn and GodRx played together for Challengers. Yeah, Rial was just such a left field teammate. Rial was just a left field teammate. He was on Rocker Academy at Challengers Finals. They got 7th, 8th with Pander, DiamondCon, and 2 Real. Like, why did we pick this guy up? Like, was he really that good? I mean, he was with GodRx and Pander for a little bit. So, like, maybe you're bringing back GodRx with Rial, and GodRx was already playing with Gwyn. Like, but still, I feel like you're just wasting your opportunity to pick a team and create a team to surround this new brand. And it just pains me to see that, like, these guys are going to struggle. They're going to struggle. I think that they're going to struggle right here. And it stinks to see that they're going to be in the bottom 4. We're going to move on to Surge and Rocker last, because there's only one real spot when it comes to bottom of the barrel, and I think it's between these two. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Los Angeles Thieves, I think, is going to be in that middle of the pack. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a weird team. I know that they said that they wanted to focus on, like, younger talent for now, but they signed Afro, Cammy, Ghosty, and Joe Deceives. Ghosty has been a hill kitten, right? He's been doing really well in this game, and I'm very excited to see how he progresses and plays against all these different teams. Joe Deceives, I think he's very vibey. I didn't like him as a player personally, at least from what I saw last year. But you gotta give it to him, right? I mean, he was on a really bad team for his first year, but he made the choice. He'd rather show what he's got and still lose than not take that opportunity to be on a team, and I agree with what he did. But surrounding himself with the worst Toronto Ultra player that got removed. Don't get me wrong, I like Cammy, but he hasn't been what he used to be. It's not Black Ops Cold War anymore. This man has fallen off. And then same thing with Afro. People put so much on Afro and say that he's such a good player. I haven't seen it yet, man. I haven't. You know, I know that everyone says, like, he's just, like, such a very quick player, and I'm not denying that he's good, you know, that he's good. I'm not saying that he's bad completely. He's there for a reason. But I feel like he needs to step up. You know, he even got benched middle of the year, and I feel like it was because of comms issue that, like, he just wasn't talking. I always see him, he's just super hyper focused, hyper blinders, you know, and if he's not, like, popping off trying to do these quick things and flanking like Zuma, he's not doing so hot. But we'll see what happens. You know, with Ghosty being probably their flex player, maybe their main AR, honestly. Cammy, yeah. And he's going to be in the hill, and then you got Joe Deceives and Afro kind of flying around the map a little bit. I mean, I don't know. It's weird, and I think that they're going to have a lot of issues, so it's going to be a good matchup between Boston and Vegas. Then you're going to go to Toronto Ultra. I think Toronto Ultra is going to be an easy S-Class. It's pretty straightforward, right? Runners up for your grand finals. They won one of the events. Scrappy is going to be an absolute menace now that he's in the league on any team that he's on, right? Insight was just a really good player, has been ever since Cold War. Kleenex, year after year, has proven people wrong. People think he's not great. He's just one of the best subs in the game. And then you surround him with people like Envoy, right? And part of me thinks that it's I know that they wanted the dynamic of letting Kleenex be more of the Slayer, and at the time they had Hixie be more of the OBJ player, the one who gets the spawns, the one who rotates first. Envoy's not doing that. And I just feel like Envoy's the one who just sneaks behind them and does the flanks a lot and is more of that Slayer. And it's it's an interesting combination of having Kleenex and Envoy. I think it's a great roster. I think roles are going to be a little weird of who's going to be in Hill most. I think it's probably going to be Insight, because Scrap wants to run around the map. There's no denying that. So we'll see what happens. But I think between Atlanta FaZe and Ultra, I think FaZe is going to take it more times than most against Ultra. But Ultra is going to be a contender throughout this whole season. Now we're going to go to Optic Texas, the team that I want to do really, really well. I'm an Optic fan. Always have been, always will be. I still like a lot of players from a lot of different teams, so I can't say that like I'm just an all-in 100% Optic. You know, I love seeing most of these players play and the teams that are formed. I think this is the first time that we've had the most like competitive Optic roster since the Dynasty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Every year there's been a problem. Every year there's been a change. Every year someone's had to leave or something happened. Ender's Thumb. We had to bring in Huke. Scump wanted to retire. Dashy got benched. Dashy came back. We tried getting Pred. The whole ordeal about that. It's just been a whirlwind, you know. And I don't know. People thought that the original Optic Texas team of Dashy, Illy, Scump, and Shotzi were going to be like one of the best teams in the world, and they fell flat. So there needs to be, if this doesn't work out this year, there has to be a change. And I say that wholeheartedly, right? The team now consists of Shotzi, Dashy, Kenny, and Pred. Kenny is going to come in there and he's going to be like a mama bear. He's just like, bitch, we got to get this done. I'm going to hold you accountable. And this season is going to really show us if Dashy has some problems. If Dashy and Shotzi just need to communicate more and talk on the map more. And Shotzi needs to be not as... I say this every year, and everyone says that that's his best quality, that Shotzi is just such a playmaker, like, it's all about his movement. I think it gets him in more trouble than it helps the team. I mean, if he's not going off and getting those kills by jumping out the window and doing these crazy things, there's a problem. You know, there's a problem. And same thing with Pred. Pred and Shotzi, while they seem like two awesome Slayers, putting them together, they're still two awesome Slayers that are not OBJ. They're not mindful of being of that OBJ, right? They're more focused on playing around the map, being that sneaky little, OBJ player, that more tactical SMG player, and getting those kills. And I get that. I see why they did it. But oh boy, it's gonna be interesting. I apparently the Rival 9's like godlike, and I disagree, but I just feel like the ARs are just so good in this game right now that I don't know who's going to play the third AR. Pred, right? I mean, Kenny is going to be awesome as long as he does well. And there are a lot of eyes on Kenny. I hope that a lot of people aren't going to just auto assume that it's Kenny's fault for these issues that they're going to start having, right? If they start having them, knock on wood. But I think it really does fall on Shotzi and Kenny more than Shotzi and Dashy more than anyone else. They've had their time, they've had their chance. I think the biggest thing that they need to improve on is that communication. They need to start talking more. And I know that Octane has said a lot about Dashy and improving his game and changing his whole game throughout that last year. Cool, time to prove it. You know, he changed his whole mentality, changed his whole mindset. You say, now's the time to prove it. We have a really good backed team. Really, really, really good backed team. And I just think that they're going to be an A. I think they're going to be better than NYSL. I think that they, more than most times, are going to win against them. And, I mean, this is going to be a good match. I mean, just between Sib and Pred. And this is really going to prove to see who's better, Pred or Sib. Again, different roles, but at the same time, it's going to be a good matchup. Do I think Optic has a total chance of beating FaZe and Ultra? Oh, 100%. I think that this is our top 4 teams. But if I were to look at a percentage-wise of who's the most likely to win an event, I would say it goes in this order of Atlanta FaZe, Ultra, Optic, then Subliners. All of them have that potential, but it really depends on who turns up on Sunday, who turns up on the weekend leading up to that, and who also gets the best placements, right? Now we move on to Seattle Surge and Rocker. Let's start with Rocker, okay? Accuracy, Lins, Awakening, Vivid. You took 2 Boston Breach players, put them on that team, You gave another slow AR in accuracy, so you have Awakening and accuracy as slow ARs. Accuracy has been lacking, man. I understand how much he brings to the table, like very much similar to Slasher, and talking to the team and being that structure and being that comms master to talk to everyone. I feel like we need that from Awakening. I feel like if Awakening did exactly what accuracy does, right, and we don't need accuracy anymore. Put accuracy at the coaching spot and fill up another AR player, right? Awakening's proven to me more than once that he's just a really good player, right? And I have no issues with seeing Awakening and Vivid. They might not be the best combination of players, but I also think that it really comes down to the two that they put them with, right? Because we've seen Awakening and Vivid with TJ and Methods. We've seen them with Beans and Kremp, and it's just, there's a piece missing. They almost get it. And obviously you have Lindsay. It's another amateur stepping up. Got a lot of good amateur players. A lot of good amateur players coming in this year. I just think this team's just gonna lack. I think they're gonna really, really, really. They're gonna miss the mark. They're gonna focus too much on slang, or they're gonna get outslayed completely, and they're just gonna miss the mark when it comes to doing the OBJ. I don't know what else to say. And unfortunately, I do think that they're probably worse than Seattle Surge. So I'm going to put Rocker at your bottom 4. And finally, we're going to talk about Seattle Surge that I am going to put in B with Abuza, Arcides, Illy, and Huke. With Coach Rambo, they are like quadruple down on the Optic curse. Like, Optic was the problem. Let's all just come together, right? I don't hate it. I'm glad to see that Illy is back into the league. I always liked Arcides. He had a really bad run last year. Huke. I said it once, said it again. I think he's a good sub. He's just not the greatest sub. The guy even admitted that he was on Adderall when he was winning champs during MW in 2019. He just hasn't been good since. Hasn't been as good. He's still a good player, and he has his moments. But I think that any player can be better if you surround him with godlike players. And that's what happened. You surrounded Huke with Shotzi. You surrounded him with Dashi, right? It was just good players that freed up the map for Huke to do these just like more technical SMG OBJ type things. And I don't know. It's especially with Abuza. And I hear that Abuza is an AR player. So we have 3 ARs in one sub pretty much, right? Because otherwise you have to have Illy on sub. If Abuza pulls out a submachine gun, I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense to me. But, given this game is AR heavy right now, it works for them. It works seeing Abuza, Arceus, and Illy all with ARs. Great. And that's why I think that they're going to be better than those 4. They're going to be better than Miami. They're going to be better than Gorillas. They're going to be better than Carolina. And they're going to be better than Rocker. They'll probably lose some of them. Don't get me wrong. But, a 3-2 record against, if this was their lineup. And if we're looking at from left to right, in the middle of this pack, I would probably say, if I had to say between Boston, Legion, Thieves, and Surge, I think Thieves is probably the best. I think then it's Boston, then it would be Surge, and then it would be Legion. And then in terms of C, I think the worst team is probably going to be Gorillas. I think it's going to be... I think Ravens beats Heretics. I think Heretics beats Rocker. Yeah, that's the roster. This is it. This is the tier list. All right, everyone, that is my tier list going into the 2024 season for Call of Duty CDL. I'm very excited to be recording and watching these matches play out and seeing how these events go. And I'm very excited because I'm going to be attending a lot of these majors. So I can't wait to be there live at the crowd and seeing my favorite teams play. Now, before we go, we're going to end it on a good note. We're going to end this video on a high note. We're going to do our pick'ems for this week. If you guys don't know what this is, we have the CDL. There's a website. You can do pick'ems.callofdutyleague.com. You can set your predictions for the week and obviously be the best. How good are you at predicting how these games are going to go based off the players? I recommend that you try it out. I have a lot of fun doing this every single week. So if we were to look at Friday, the first match is going to be Boston Breach versus FaZe. I think that's a 3-0. I don't think Boston gets a single map. Then you have LA Thieves versus Surge. I think this is going to be a much better thing. I think that Thieves wins map 1, Surge wins maps 2. If it's going to be Control, Thieves wins map 3. And then, I don't know, the S&D, I think they win 3-1. NYSL versus Optic is going to be such a crazy first match. I think that the other two, at least the FaZe versus Boston, was like, that's very one-sided. Surge versus Thieves, a little bit better. They're that mid pack. But then you have two top contenders playing against each other, and man, you get the Pred versus Civ very early on. I think they come out the gate hot. Bam, you get 1-0, and then I think New York wins the search. I think the Control goes to Optic. I don't see it going to Game 5. I see it going 3-1. Even, they're all going to be close matches, but I think it's going to go 3-1. Going into Saturday, you have Miami Heretics versus Royal Ravens. Oh, boy. I mean, based off my tier list, I say that Ravens wins against Miami Heretics. So, I say that Royal Ravens probably win map 1. Heretics probably win the S&D. They probably win the Control, I'm not going to lie to you. But I think the Hardpoint gets 1 and the S&D gets 1 again. I think that'll be our first Game 5. Then we have Rocker versus Legion. I think that given I put Rocker as like the bottom 4, I think it's still a close game because, again, either of them can win. On that bottom 8 teams, anyone can win. Anyone has a chance if they're just on that day, if they're doing well. I think that Legion takes map 1. I think that Rocker, yeah, they take map 2 as well. I think Legion 3-0s. Do I say that Legion really 3-0s? I do. I think that Legion 3-0s them. Yeah. Ultra versus Gorillas, 3-0. That's a very simple. Yeah, that's not gonna go too well, right? And again, it's all gonna be experience for Gorillas, right? So it's kind of sucks that that's their first match, but it sets the bar for them. And then Breach for Surge, that's gonna be interesting. I think going off of a loss on Friday, and Breach is going off on a loss on Friday. Both the teams are gonna really give it their all. I see Boston winning map 1. I see Surge being a really good S&D team, winning map 2. Control, I would say Surge. I would say Hardpoint goes back to Boston, and then it goes to the Search. I think Boston wins. Finally, you have it's so hard to say that. Carolina Royal Ravens. Goodness. And I honestly think that the Carolina Royal Ravens, I think the Ravens are going to, against Legion, that's going to be such a good match for Sunday. Clayster versus Attach. That's going to be such a good match. I think that the Ravens win Hardpoint, but then S&T gets won by Vegas. I think that... Do I think a Game 5? I do. I think that they win the Control, they win the Hardpoint, and then the Search. Gorillas versus Subliners. I think Subliners wins, but Gorillas takes an S&D. FaZe versus Thieves. That's going to be a good one. I can't wait to see Ghosty, but I still think FaZe 3-0s. Let's say 3-1. I give it to the boys. They have a total chance of taking one game. It's still early on. And then we're going to end the weekend with another Optic match. Can't wait. Optic versus Minnesota Rocker. Now, again, Minnesota Rocker, let me just double check to see who's on that team because I keep forgetting. It's always forgettable. Accuracy Lens, Dial Awakening, and Vivid, man. Oh my goodness. Unless they get sound EQ'd out of nowhere, I think they win game 1, then they lose game 2 because of that, and then they're gonna win both of the respawns. So those are my predictions. Say predictions. That's it. Locking them in. All right, everyone. This is going to do it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to smash that like button down below. I do appreciate it. It helps out the channel, as always. And tell me down below in the comments what you guys think. Who do you think are going to be the best teams going in for the season? Who are you rooting for? Let me know. With that, this is Jetfire. Signing out. Have a nice day, everyone.